Hi, I'm Kitty Purgason, Professor Emerita from Biola University, and this is part of a series inspired by the questions faculty in the English Language Center of the Community College of Qatar asked me recently. We know our primary mandate is to teach language, but there are other related skills and dispositions that we know will help our students learn English and also succeed in the world. Study skills, curiosity, critical thinking, responsibility, and more. We really want to teach them, but there's no time with our busy semesters and packed curricula. In this brief presentation, I'm going to give you some ideas you can implement in just a few minutes a day. But before I do, let me highlight some of these beyond language skills our students might need. Education experts these days refer to 21st century skills, including the 4 skills of critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. We know that the traditional scope of literacy has expanded to include information, media, and technology literacy. And some learners, especially those in their early 20s, may benefit from learning life skills like leadership, initiative, productivity, and more. Here's another diagram from UNICEF that shows transferable skills that people might need in order to know, do, be, and live together. It may prompt you to think about areas where your students need some additional development. Perhaps you feel your students could benefit from content related to peace, conflict resolution, and empathy, or to civil society. This diagram on social emotional learning adds more to our list. For example, are our students practicing responsible decision making? Finally, I'm sure you're familiar with fixed versus growth mindset. Might our students' learning of English be enhanced if they were better at responding to adversity and challenge, for example? Let's move on to talking about how we might include that content in our classes in just a few minutes a day, along with everything else that's in the required curriculum. First of all, we should go through the various lists to decide which skills and content we should prioritize. There might be things in the textbook which already give students a push toward those skills, like critical thinking. Highlight them, don't neglect them. If you're looking for more, a great model is content-based language teaching and learning. This isn't the time to go into details, but it's worth researching if, for example, you want to develop a special unit on growth mindset, respect for diversity, positive approaches to challenges, gratitude, or whatever, covering both content and language woven together. But it's probably more realistic to just spend a few minutes each day or week. Maybe you can give this time a special name. It could come at the end of class as well as the beginning. One thing to do during the brief time in your class is to show a graphic. For example, this quote from Teddy Roosevelt for students who need help facing challenges without giving up. It could be on the board or screen with instructions like these for students to get started on while they wait for class to begin. Here's another technique for students who need to become more curious. Each day you could have a different mysterious photo selected to help awaken students' curiosity. This one, by the way, is a feather. Secondly, you can teach a principle. For example, collaboration means working together. It helps us get along with extended family, with neighbors, with workmates, and with strangers we meet. That's why we engage in collaboration in our group work. Or Media literacy means asking questions about what we see, watch, hear, and read, and so on. And that leads to doing an activity. Is this photo real or fake? And how do you know? By the way, it's a fake. And the more students practice recognizing altered images, the smarter their media literacy will be. Fourth, you can tell a personal story. Stories are a very powerful and memorable way to teach. So let me tell you a story about me and how I learned to not give up. It happened one day in October 2022. My phone screen went black. It was like the touch screen had become completely paralyzed. Off on, nothing changed. And the businesses that offer tech help were closed, and online appointments for the next day were all full. My husband had been the tech expert in our family, and I felt very sad that he was no longer with us, no longer around to help me. In fact, that day my phone died was the 2-year anniversary of his death, so I was especially sad. But as I thought about my husband, I remembered that one of his qualities was never giving up. He would keep trying and keep trying long after I had just thrown up my hands. So I thought I would remember him and honor him by trying to behave as he would. I got on my laptop and did a Google search a couple of times. I watched how-to videos on YouTube, several of them. I tried lots of things again and again, and finally I got that touchscreen to work. I had persevered. I'm really thankful not only that I got my phone to work, but that I learned an important lesson about my capability and about perseverance. Okay, do you have a story that could illustrate something you want your students to learn? Besides a few minutes in class, some of our students may want to do extracurricular reading or listening, or they may want some for their children. Start compiling a list of articles or posts that relate to the mindsets and skills you're trying to impart. Here are just 2 to get you started. And finally, it's good to acknowledge when our students are doing what we've taught and what we hope for them. You might create some prize cards that you can hand out when a student has put into practice that target skill or trait. I hope this has inspired you. Let me know what works for you and your students, and if you have other ideas.